Okay, we're going to go over 1.3 solving equations, and this is doing multi-step equations, which would be when I've got x's on both sides, or when I've got variables on two different sides. Now I will tell you, one, I've already recorded this video once, and the sound on my computer decided to not work, so this is my, at least my second attempt going through it, maybe patched together of multiple attempts. We'll see how it goes. But as we're working through this, these are ones that I would highly suggest working out on a sheet of paper. Having this sheet, I put it up front with the warm-ups. So having it is great because it's got those steps at the same time, and a lot of the steps that you kind of know, but it's always good to go back to. But when you get down to working these problems and checking them, definitely it'd be good to have your own paper to work on. So as we're looking at this, we've got x's on both sides of the equal signs. So we're going to kind of simplify as much as we can, as much as makes sense on both sides of the equal signs. Then we will work to isolate the variable, doing our order of operations just kind of in reverse. And then we'll work to get the variable on the left side if we can, if it makes sense, and then everything else on the other side. And then I've got a couple tips of working with fractions for you. So if using doing these equations with fractions kind of throws you for a loop, I've got some stuff there that can kind of give you the help on that end. And then finally, we should get it to where we just have a variable equaling a number, and that's our answer. Then we'll plug it back in to check it and make sure it's correct. So let's dive right into the first one. I've got 9x minus 13 equals 5x plus 57. So going through this, I need to first get this 9x by itself. So what I can do is, starting out, if I'll add 13 to both sides, that cancels these out. And so then I've got just 9x over here. Then over here I've got 5x plus 57, 60, 70. So 5x plus 70. Right, next, I need to get this 5x moved over to the other side. So moving it to the left, I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides, which is going to leave me with 4x over here equaling 70. And my last step, I will divide by 4. So I end up with x equaling 70 over 4, and that will simplify down a little bit. We can get it to like x equals 35 over 2, or if you wrote it as 17.5, then that would be fine as well. Okay, then our last step, we're going to go in and check our answer to make sure it's correct. So to do that, anywhere there's an x up here, we're just going to plug in a 35 over 2. So, try and make a little space here. And just because of the room that I have, what I'm going to do is work out the left side and then the right side. Make sure they both equal the same thing. So 9 35 over 2 minus 13. So as I'm working that out, get 9 times 35, let's see, would give me looks like 315. So I'd have 315 over 2. So taking half of that would be, let's see, 150, 55, it's like 157.5, and then subtracting 13. As we work that out, I should get 144.5. So more than likely, if I were you, I'd be putting that into the calculator to do my check. I don't have one with me right now because everything I would use is up at the school where my first video did not work. Okay, then I've got my second one, doing 5 times 35 over 2 plus 57. So multiplying 5 times 35, you get 175. Half of that would be let's see, it would be 80. 87.5, I believe. Then I add 57 to that, and I end up again with 144.5. So again, putting that in the calculator is going to be your best bet to work through that a little more quickly. But that's checking our answer. Both of those do check out. So x equals 35 over 2 there. Okay, on to my next one. I've got 5 times 3m minus 18. So I will do distributive property here. So doing 5 times 3m, which gives me 15m, and 5 times 18, which would give me negative 90. And on my other side, I have 30, and then remember, as I distribute this, it's a negative 4 times 6m, negative 4 times negative 9. So first I get a negative 24m. Negative 4 and negative 9, though, gives me a positive 36. I've got some like terms that will combine there. So 30 and 36, I end up having negative 24m plus 66 over here equals 15m minus 90. So as we go through here, now we're doing kind of the same 2 steps we did originally on the left here, which means I will add 90 to both sides, which gives me, let's see, 90 plus 66 would give me 156. And what I can do is I can go ahead and add 24m to both sides, just to kind of get both of those done in the same step. And I'll end up getting on this side, the 35, 36, 37, 39m equaling 156. So all that's left there to do is divide. So if I divide that by 39, and I've got to divide 156 by 39, those cancel out, And what I end up with is m actually equals 4. And we work that out. And of course I'm going to put that into check. So checking that, I have 5 times, in parentheses, 3 times 4 minus 18 equals 30 minus 4, in parentheses, 6 times 4 minus 9. And so as we work it out, let's see, we get 3 times 4 here, give me 12, minus 18 gives me a negative 6, and negative 6 times 5 gives me a negative 30. So this left side is going to be negative 30. What I end up with here, 6 times 4 is 24, minus 9 is 15. 15 times negative 4 gives me negative 60. 30 minus 60 also gives me a negative 30. So again, those check out, and you can kind of see why I was suggesting, hey, if you've got your own sheet of paper, it gives you a lot more room to kind of work this out and check. Okay, down to my last 2 here. Looks like I'm going to be doing distribution again a little bit. So I'll do 4 going into W and negative 3, which gives me 4W minus 12. And then I've got to do negative 2 times 9 and times negative 8W, which ends up giving me negative 18, and negative and a negative would give me a positive 16W. So this one is possible as one where you could possibly make an argument to say, oh, it might be better if I move the 4W over here and the 18 over here, just because everything would end up positive. That's just to keep things on the positive end. If we move it over to the left, as we've been doing, definitely still works out. So that would mean adding 12 to both sides to get like a negative 6. And then I could also subtract 16W to cancel those out to give me a negative 12W. So negative 12W equals negative 6. And what I get there, if I divide by negative 12, and again, if we had them swapped, I'd just be dividing negative 6 or positive 6 by positive 12. Either way though, negative and a negative would make a positive. So W here is actually going to equal 1/2. And we'll put that into check. So I have 4 times 1/2 minus 3, which gives me 4 times 2.5, or negative 2.5, which would end up being a negative 10. And on my other side, I have negative 2 times 9 minus 8 times 1/2, which would just be 9 minus 4. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Positive 5 times negative 2, again, gives me a negative 10. So there's my check. Those check out. Part of the benefit of these, you can always go through and use that to check and make sure you've got the right answer. So when you've got an equation, when you're solving for something like that, take a little bit of extra time, especially when we're on a quiz or on a test, to do that extra check. Then we know for sure, even though getting 35 over 2 or 1/2 might be a weird answer. And go through and do that check, and we say, okay, we've got the right answer there. Okay, last we've got our one with the fraction. So I know sometimes fractions kind of throw us for a loop in the middle of these problems, but let's take a look at it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 6 to both sides and go ahead and get that out of the way. That cancels those and gives me, well, it gives me 20 over here, equals 4/5 of x. And so this says really 4/5 of something equals 20. Now, we've said, and I'm sure you've heard in the past, that you multiply by the reciprocal, which is just flipping over the fraction and multiplying it by the other side. Sometimes that can kind of throw us for a loop though. So what you can do is actually just split this up into 2 different steps. So if I'll just multiply that by 5 on both sides, because all this is multiplied together, so when I cancel out, it's just going to cancel out that 5. And what that leaves me with over here is just 4x. And then on the other side, 20 times 5 is going to give me 100. And this is one we can probably look at and say, well, I'm pretty sure I know what that is. But we'll do the last step, divide by 4. And so when I divide by 4 here, those will cancel out. And I end up getting x equals 25. And so my check then, of course, would be 4 over 5 times 25 minus 6, and that should equal 14. If I divide that by 5, 25 divided by 5 is 5. Well, 5 times 4 is 20. And 20 minus 6, of course, does end up giving me 14. There's my check, so I know I've got the right answer there. It's x equals 25. Okay, if I didn't leave a note of it, anything that you had that was due, we're putting back a day, so everything's kind of pushed back a day because I wasn't able to be there for class today. And you've got assignment to work on in this, and then if you got that done, of course, be working to finish up those other assignments. You can look on Google Classroom if you need to. We've got videos and some tips for that on there as well.